Today on Monkey Life, Alison and wildlife vet John are in Vietnam to examine two baby douc langurs, both victims of poachers.
Right then, little fella.
One of the tiny pair needs to be checked over for gunshot wounds.
It doesn't mean much, but I can't feel a pellet. You know, you can often feel a pellet. It's a hard lump mobile under the skin.
Plus, the team are preparing for a groundbreaking gibbon release that has been 3 years in the making. This is Dao Tien Rescue Centre in Vietnam. It's the sister sanctuary of Monkey World in Dorset, and the staff here dedicate their lives to rescuing and rehabilitating endangered Vietnamese primates.
It's a new forest with a new family group of gibbons coming, and hopefully everybody will grow up and mature together.
It's a 6,000-mile journey from the UK to the centre, which lies 160 miles northeast of Ho Chi Minh City. Vietnam in Southeast Asia. A land of staggering natural beauty and cultural complexities, of large dynamic cities and hill tribe villages. But like many countries in the region, Vietnam has struggled with the illegal trade in wildlife. Poaching and smuggling are commonplace, and the law is difficult to enforce. But away from the hustle and bustle of the metropolis lies Dao Tien, a rescue, rehabilitation and release centre set up to combat the effects of the black market wildlife trade. Lying within Cat Tien National Park, the island reserve in the Dong Nai province has been successful in rescuing a large number of endangered primates, including golden-cheeked gibbons, black-shanked douc langurs and pygmy loris. Set up with the full support of the Vietnamese authorities, it was the brainchild of Monkey World's animal director, Dr. Alison and her late husband Jim, the park's founder. It's now run by Dr. Marina Kenyon.
Dao Tien's been here now for 12 years, just focusing on the primates for South Vietnam, so the gibbons, the loris, and the leaf-eating langurs. Our main mission is to support the government so they can enforce the law, and we'll take confiscated animals, but then most importantly, develop protocols to get those individuals back in the forest. We've done really well with doucs, we've done really well with loris. It's been hard work, but we've got there, so now it's a real focus on the gibbons. But nothing in life is easy.
With around 56 hectares to help them achieve their aim, the team at Dao Tien have had great success recently. More than 60 pygmy loris have been released back into the trees and forests of Vietnam. But they've had mixed results when it comes to releasing golden-cheeked gibbons, and their numbers at the centre continue to rise. Marina's partner, Lee Butler, is the manager of Dao Tien.
This is our phase 1 area, and this is sort of where we bring all the animals in that we rescue, and we have to rehabilitate them. We have to get them back to full health. So we have 10 cages for the golden-cheeked gibbons. We have 20 cages for the loris. And also further out, we have 4 semi-free enclosures. And that is vital to the project because we have to train our primates to life back in the trees before we do any releases.
The Phase 1 animals are kept in secure enclosures. These are gibbons in the process of rehabilitation, or who will never be fit or well enough for release in the wild. The rest of the gibbons live in the Phase 2 semi-free areas on the island. These cover more than 20 hectares and help the gibbons get used to life in the trees before release. But being on an island limits their ability to range, so the team need to supplement their diet daily. Along with Marina and Lee, there are 10 Vietnamese staff dedicated to feeding and caring for the primates. 2 of their recent charges are Anthony and Me. These tiny baby douc langurs arrived separately at Dao Tien 3 months ago. Both have had a difficult and tragic start to life, losing their mums to poachers. Anthony is a little bit older than me and was very weak when he came to the centre. He had gunshot wounds to his left arm, which are still causing him problems. He's going to be the first patient on wildlife vet John Lewis's list when he arrives at the centre from the UK with Alison. Anthony's companion, Me, arrived in different but no less tragic circumstances.
So Me was taken as an infant, sold into the pet trade, and then as a tiny little baby, 2-month-old baby, released back into the forest. There's no way on earth she could have survived. So luckily or unluckily, she was actually hunted again, came out of the forest, and this time, another man bought her. And as soon as he got her, he phoned us and said, look, this little douc. So we actually took her in straight away. So she's had since that moment that her mum died and she lost her mum, she's had a lot going on.
Since arriving at Dao Tien, both baby doucs have grown stronger, and this unrelated duo have become the best of friends. Me absolutely adores Anthony.
She holds on to him, she uses him like mum. She wants him to carry her, he's her comfort blanket. Anthony's everything to me, so I need to get him big and strong to make sure he can deal with this.
To improve the pair's general health and condition, and to teach them how to behave like douc langurs should, Lee and Fung, their surrogate mums for now, give the babies daily lessons in tree climbing.
Right then, little fella. We take them out into the forest. So we do an hour and a half in the morning and an hour and a half in the afternoon. And yes, they're still young, but we have to get them in trees. You know, it's what we're about. These are monkeys. They're not to be sat in a cage. We have to get them back in the forest. So this is vitally important. And the staff that take them out there climb the trees with them. They will take selected leaves and eat the leaf in front of them. They are primarily leaf eaters, so the whole process of what we're doing with the doucs is just quite simply amazing with the guys we have.
The ultimate goal of the centre is to release the majority of primates they rescue back into the wild. It's one of the reasons Alison and vet John Lewis have made the long journey to the centre from the UK. It's been 3 years since a pair of golden-cheeked gibbons were released back into the forest, and now the team are ready to try again. But it's a big challenge.
The gibbons are a different kettle of fish. They're a lot more difficult just based on their biology and ecology. They pair bond for life, in theory, and they're territorial. So they're quite aggressive to any neighboring groups of gibbons to make sure that they protect their home range, which has valuable food sources in the territory for them to bring up their families. They sing duets every morning, announcing their territory to other neighboring groups of gibbons. So to that effect, you've got to find perfect forest for them that's high quality with enough fruiting trees that they can feed themselves and future generations. It has to be a forest that isn't already occupied by wild gibbons because they'll go to war. And it also has to be an area that either has extremely good forest protection from the Kim Lam, the forest guards, or that has absolutely no hunting pressure. And quite frankly, you know, getting all of those characteristics together in one place, it's just nigh on impossible to find a perfect place to release gibbons. And that's why our gibbon releases have taken so much longer.
But Marina and her team have been working hard on the problem. Along with the forest rangers who protect the area, they've been conducting habitat surveys. This involves checking the density of fruiting trees and looking for wild gibbons in the vicinity. And the team have been feeling positive. There are 8 gibbons at Dao Tien ready to go. They include Limwin and Misu and their 2 young offspring. It's the main reason for Alison's trip. However, In the last few hours, the authorities at the national park have got cold feet about the gibbon family's release.
The solution would be to take one of the single ones and try it in there that isn't a prized family group that everybody's going to talk about. It's one animal. What do you think?
Ben could do it. She's fit enough, she's forest savvy enough, she's strong enough.
They're concerned about releasing an entire family of gibbons into the area, earmarked within the national park.
So a single animal to test the water is favorable than a whole family group.
Alison feels the answer is to release one healthy and extremely fit female gibbon. Bin has been in the semi-wild at Dao Tien for the last 3 years. She has a strong personality and will be more than a match for any wild male gibbon who may approach her. But to undertake this test release, they'll still need the permission from the head of the national park.
It's time to sort of grasp that nettle, follow through with what our plan was, and take a bit of a leap. But you know, these animals that you've cared for so long, their sort of future rests in your hands. So making these critical decisions for their future is quite a tough one. At the moment, who knows what's going to happen, but it's always, you know, you have to be flexible in these things. There's no point in having a rigid plan.
Monkey World's sister sanctuary, Dao Tien, plays a major part in protecting some of the most endangered species in Vietnam. With tourism on the rise, conservation is becoming a priority for the country, which now has more than 30 national parks. Sadly, many of the primates who arrive at the centre have had a tragic start in life and are in desperate need of expert care. Along with Alison, wildlife vet John Lewis makes frequent visits to Dao Tien. He performs health checks and small surgical procedures, often under difficult conditions. The heat and humidity are a constant part of daily life on the island. Today, he's going to examine the centre's 2 newest arrivals. Baby douc langurs Anthony and Me arrived separately 3 months ago, both victims of poaching. Anthony had gunshot wounds to his arm.
We really want to get this hand checked. When he came, he couldn't use the arm, then he could use his shoulder, then he moved his elbow, then he moved his wrist, and then the hand clenched. So although it hinders him a little bit, he's adapting, but we want to get it checked out. It's vitally important that potentially there might be something we can do as a team, so we need to do that now.
John Lewis wastes no time putting Anthony under, using anaesthetic gas. There's always an element of risk with anaesthesia, but Anthony is only 8 months old, so John will need to work quickly. He checks for scars and lumps, which could be indications of gunshot pellets still under the skin.
It doesn't mean much, but I can't feel a pellet. You know, you can often feel a pellet. It's a hard lump mobile under the skin. I can't.
There's nothing immediately obvious to John. Next, he checks Anthony's legs and hip flexion.
I'll get to the arms in a minute. Okay, let's look at this head for a moment. Sometimes, obviously, the pellets will come out. Well, the head's a big target, so...
Satisfied, it's time to take a look at Anthony's injured left arm, which has been causing him problems.
Huh, it's interesting. I think we do need x-rays. I want to look at the wrist, particularly. I'm not convinced there's any other shotgun pellet in there, Lee.
John is unable to make a full diagnosis until he sees an x-ray of Anthony's arm.
As things stand at the moment, the elbow has reasonably full range of movement, about 90%. That's good enough. The wrist, you can obviously see that the wrist, if you compare both wrists, this wrist is right, it's just like yours and mine. You know, it's all in line with the forearm. This one is not. In virtually any plane you look at it, perhaps that's the most obvious. It's not in line with the forearm. I think there's been an injury there. That would be interesting. We need the x-rays.
Anthony is microchipped and hair and blood samples are taken for analysis. Once the baby douc langur has come round from the anaesthetic, Lee can take him to fully recover.
Come on then, dude. Let's get you gone.
While his younger playmate Mee has her health check. While John has been busy at the medical centre, Alison and Marina have been talking to officials at Dao Tien National Park and have received some exciting news. They've just been given the go-ahead to release female golden-cheeked gibbon Bin back into the forest.
We've got all of the tools to assess and to try this and see what she's gonna do. Catching up and bringing only one gibbon back to Dao Tien if we needed to is much easier than trying to capture and bring back an entire family group. So everybody's on board and agreed that we'll try releasing Bin. We'll keep a very close eye on her and see if she does what we're hoping, which is head off into the forest and find a wild mate to pair up with.
Bin was confiscated as an illegal pet and came to Dao Tien at a young age. She spent the majority of her time living in the trees of the semi-free area. Now about 10 years old, she's just going through her colour change, from black back to blonde, which may help her when released.
She's not the bright blonde female adult, so if she happens to bump into any neighboring groups, it's the females who often go to war, she won't look so threatening and intimidating because she still has a more adolescent-y coat. So Bin's ticking all of the boxes for us, so she doesn't realize it now. We've brought her back in from our forest enclosure, and she's now in one of our rehabilitation cages, phase 1 cages, because tonight we're gonna put the collar on Bin, and tomorrow morning she'll be heading out to our release site, and then in 2 days' time we're gonna let her go.
But to fit Bin's tracking collar and give her a final health check, John and Lee first need to anaesthetize her in the cage. John wants to make absolutely sure she's fit enough for release.
Hello.
The GPS collar is vital for the team to keep track of Bin during her first few months on her own in the wild.
We're hoping every Friday, our plan is to download the data from the collar. So we have the GPS data, so we know where the gibbons are moving. With this, we can establish how big their home range is, and importantly, the limits of their home range. Based on that, we can map and say, okay, where can we place the next group? Because we have 4 different social units to release. And we can make sure that they're a great enough distance, because gibbons, especially gibbon females, like to fight. There can't be 2 females too close. So by looking at the maps that the space station will download and provide, we can say, okay, we've got a 2-kilometre distance, and then we can find the right place for the second group. So they can hear the gibbons, but they're not too close that they want to go and have a fight.
Happy?
Lee manages to net Bin without causing her too much stress, enabling John to easily hand inject her. Then she's taken straight to the centre's animal hospital.
Right on the table, head down here.
Funky color.
Isn't she?
Straight away, John notices a problem with her teeth.
That's a dead incisor. I'm not sure I'm going to do anything about
Bit
that.
concerned about those 2.
It's a complication he's going to need to look at more closely. But the most important issue is to get the GPS collar fitted correctly and securely.
They must be tight enough so the animal can't A, get the collar off, and B, get branches or twigs or things stuck down between their neck and the collar. They must be loose enough to be comfortable and allow them to feed and vocalise and move, etc. So, yeah, there's a balance to be struck. And, you know, people don't collar gibbons every day. I don't think you want to go much further, Lee. No, that's flush.
No, it's good.
And that's a nice, comfortable fit. I don't think it'll come off.
Happy with the fit, next, John takes some blood samples for the records. He's impressed with Bin's fitness.
She's muscly.
Yeah, no, she's fantastic. She's like a little tank. She's an absolutely beautiful fit gibbon. Her muscles are just really strong. You know, it's just always concern and nerves. Is she ready? Is it gonna be okay? Is our release site perfect? Time will tell. We'll see how we go, but this is the whole purpose of Dao Tien, is rehabilitation and release, getting them back out into the wild. Otherwise, we're just gonna keep stacking them up in cages, and quite personally, I won't be doing that.
Fiddly little tooth, but...
Finally, John addresses the gibbon's dental issues.
The tooth is broken. Now, we could leave it, and she may go through life without any problem at all. Or you might get infection tracking up and coming out here on the face. You might get a small sinus. It's not as serious as a broken canine, but given that she's out, we'll just remove that dead tooth. There. And out she comes. Got it. Right, I'm happy to wake her up.
Microchip, just quick.
Yep.
Lee checks Bin's microchip is working, and then they quickly weigh her.
6.75, something like that.
Bin is put into her travel crate to recover, where she will remain until the morning, when the team will transport her to the release site.
In the box, she's awake now, quite calm, but she'll still have a lot of the drug on board. Now it's just a case of leaving her calm and quiet. In about an hour, Lee will come back and offer her some water and a little bit of food. Leave her here for tonight, tomorrow morning's early start, get her out to the forest.
Tomorrow isn't just a big day for Bin, it's massively important for Alison, Marina, and the team at Dao Tien too. This is what they've spent years working towards, and, if successful, could pave the way for many more gibbon releases in the future. Next time on Monkey Life. John and Marina head out from Dao Tien to take injured baby douc langur Anthony for x-rays on the mainland.
It's good. Excellent. So now, just focus on this little piece.
And the team take Bin deep into the forest for the first gibbon release in 3 years. Today on Monkey Life, John, Marina and Fong head out from Dao Tien to take injured baby douc langur Anthony for x-rays on the mainland.
It's good. Excellent. So now, just focus on this little piece.
And the team head deep into the jungle for the first gibbon release in 3 years.
Really hard going, and especially with quite a heavy cage, so the boys are taking it in turns to carry.
But will the long-awaited return to the forest for golden-cheeked Bin prove a success? This is Dao Tien Rescue Center in Vietnam. It's the sister sanctuary of Monkey World in Dorset, and the staff here dedicate their lives to rescuing and rehabilitating endangered Vietnamese primates.
They have now set up their home range right in these batch of trees that we see here.
It's a 6,000-mile journey from the UK to the centre, which lies 160 miles northeast of Ho Chi Minh City. Since Dao Tien opened its doors 12 years ago, the team has managed to successfully rescue, rehabilitate, and release back into the wild a large number of primates. And this morning, female golden-cheeked gibbon Bin is about to join that list. Monkey World director Dr. Alison is overseeing the release.
This is it. We're just about to move Bin, who's overnighted in her travel crate in the hospital. She looks good because we're taking her out to the release site today. So we need to sort of get on the road before it gets too hot and then have to travel through the national park to our release site at Doi Dak Da, which is fantastic.
Yesterday, wildlife vet John Lewis fitted Bin with a GPS collar, which will enable the team to track her movements after she's been released into the forests of Cat Tien National Park. But first, they have to get there.
Yeah, rock and roll.
It's a taxing 23-kilometre journey to the site by boat and truck, followed by an arduous 2-kilometre trek through the dense jungle in the rising heat. It's all a bit unsettling for Bin, who for the last 3 years has been living the quiet life in the semi-free area on Dao Tien. But Alison is pleased with how she seems to be coping.
Bin's doing really good, actually. I'm impressed. She's fit, she's healthy. She's also not fighting or even considering that collar around her neck, which is a good thing. All good so far.
Before the final part of the truck journey, Alison and her colleagues stop at a local ranger station to link up with wildlife guards, known as the Kim Lam. They will help carry the cage and guide the team through the forest to the release site, which was set up ahead of time while they were waiting for permission to go ahead. They'll also be responsible for protecting Bin from poachers once she's been released. The truck has gone as far as it can.
All ready to go.
The last 2 kilometres through thick forests to the release site have to be done on foot. It's no easy task carrying a heavy cage into the rainforest along a track, which has only recently been cleared in preparation for the big day. The ground underfoot is uneven, and the team need to stop constantly and swap over as the heat increases.
Switching. As we get further out into the forest, it's getting a bit thicker and more secondary forest, really hard going, and especially with quite a heavy cage, so the boys are taking it in turns to carry Bin, but it's beautiful forest.
The forest is perfect for a gibbon release. High trees, a dense canopy, and lots of fruiting trees.
Favorite food for gibbon, so you can eat it.
Okay. Yeah, so the wild fruits. Hai and I were just discussing the fruits and that there aren't as many figs in this area, but you see, this is what a gibbon eats, the slime around a big pit. And that's the sum and total of the food source, really, so. Tastes nice, too.
Following an arduous 2-hour slog, they arrive at the release site. Lee works to quickly install water and food bowls. Bin will have to spend 2 nights in the large cage getting used to the sights, sounds and smells of the forest before being let out. It'll be an anxious 48 hours for the team.
Nerve-wracking time. An animal stuck in a cage out in the forest is actually very vulnerable. So what Lee's doing right now is a safety hatch for the food bowl, because we've had individuals in release cages before and had reticulated pythons go inside the cage to try and get at the animals, because this, you know, the wild's a dangerous place.
With everything set, the carrying cage slide is opened, and after a moment's hesitation, Bin goes straight into the holding area. Although rather agitated, she does help herself to some fruit.
Nerves are high, emotions are high, But it's part and parcel. We have to roll with it. We have to keep those under control. So it's time for us to wrap up and leave her be.
For 48 hours, she'll be left to acclimatise to these new surroundings, while most of the team head back to Dao Tien. They're happy that, so far, this long-awaited gibbon release is coming to fruition. But work on the island never stops. It's 24/7 for the team, whether looking after the gibbons during the day or preparing night feeds for the loris. The demands on the staff never change, whatever the weather. The ultimate goal is to rehabilitate and release back into the wild every primate that arrives here. Although, unfortunately, some have suffered so much, they'll never make it back. If Bin's release is successful, a family group of golden-cheeked gibbons has been tagged as the next to be put back into the forests of Vietnam.
There's Kiz. Hey, Kiz. Wow, look at that.
Kizzy and Dong and their new infant.
They're a happy family because they've only just had a new baby about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So really nice to see them out in our semi-wild enclosure because these guys are now fit and ready for release. So it's a young family group who's grown up in the trees and is ticking all of those boxes that Marina and her team are looking for. So gibbons that have a head for heights are eating some of the wild plants and foliage, have a baby on board, so they should stay together as a group. And now the last key is finding that perfect patch of forest for them to go back to the wild. And I think we're ready to go. It's going to be stressful, but before we leave here, we're going to try and catch Mr. Dom and put that radio collar on him, and that will be a very stressful situation. But we need to know what the gibbons are doing once we release them, so it's a critical part of the work.
While Alison is checking the next candidates for release, Dr. Marina Kenyon, who runs Dao Tien, vet John Lewis and keeper Fong are heading across to the mainland with baby douc langur Anthony, a victim of poachers. Since arriving at Dao Tien as a tiny infant with gunshot wounds, he's been unable to fully use his left arm and hand. If he's ever going to be released back into the trees in the future, it's vital that he can. After examining the baby douc, John decided an X-ray was in order before he could make a full diagnosis. The only place this can be done is on the mainland. Fortunately, it's just a boat ride and a short journey by road to the nearest town, situated 30 minutes away.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to meet you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
While John sets up his equipment, Fong keeps Anthony as calm and relaxed as possible.
I want to anaesthetise the douc to get the X-rays because if an animal's wriggling around, the X-rays aren't, they're not going to be diagnostic. So we need to anaesthetise him. To do that, the safest thing is to use gas. We have no gas here, so we brought it all from the Dao Tien. However, to carry it on a boat and a car, it has to be in pieces. So now we've got to reverse the process. So I think we're in business.
John wants to take a number of X-rays, not just of Anthony's wrist, but also to check for any gun pellets that may still be under the monkey's skin.
I want the overall review of body and then detail on arm.
Okay.
We'll put him on the table for.
Using anaesthetic gas gives John a fair amount of control of Anthony's sedation. But just in case he does wake up, John uses tape as a precaution.
Should we X-ray the body first and then the limbs?
With everything in position, they start with a full body X-ray.
So that's one.
And it's good news so far.
There's no shotgun pellets in him, which is good. And now we're focusing on getting X-rays of the affected wrist.
Satisfied, they move on to Anthony's problematic wrist. He has trouble opening his hand and fully extending his fingers. John suspects he may have sustained an injury to it when his mother was shot and he was stolen from the wild. Hopefully, the X-ray will shed some light on the problem.
No, it's good. Okay. Excellent. So now just focus on this little piece.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Even with two different views, there's nothing immediately obvious. John will need more time to study them.
We'll take the X-rays back to Dao Tien, and I can sit down quietly and look at them in far more detail and come up with, hopefully, a plan. If I can't work out what is wrong, I'll try and take advice from other people, for example, a veterinary orthopedic.
It's a frustrating outcome for Marina too.
I would have liked a simple answer, and it's not going to be simple, so I just hope we can find a reason for the problem.
With Anthony recovered and back in the safe hands of his keeper Fong, the team head back to Dao Tien. There, John can study the X-rays more closely and hopefully find an answer to Anthony's problem. Marina and John have arrived back at Dao Tien with baby douc langur Anthony, following a visit to the mainland to X-ray his injured arm. One individual who's very excited to see him home again is his playmate, Me. While the baby doucs get reacquainted after an afternoon apart, John takes the opportunity to study the X-rays in more detail.
I don't see on that anything bony, which tells me why he's holding this hand like this and why he's unable to use it. Okay. Which leaves another couple of possibilities. One is nerve damage, or even tendon damage, but I think this arm has less muscle and probably shorter tendons because it's been unused, as it were.
The tendons in Anthony's arm need exercise and movement to maintain elasticity. The fact that he hasn't been using it fully may have exacerbated the condition, causing the tendons to shorten. John's recommendation is a course of physiotherapy, which may improve the condition. With so many primates in the region in need of help, it's no wonder Dao Tien is always seeking to improve and expand the facilities within its 56-hectare area. The team are in the process of building a new semi-free enclosure for a pair of pygmy lorises. As with the gibbons, this is a Phase 2 area, where they will go to get accustomed to life in the trees before being released back into the wild. Dao Tien has had huge success with lorises, with more than 60 successfully returned to the forest in the last 5 years alone.
It's a big effort, but we're trying to address and respond to the wrongs that have been done by human beings previous in their life and deal with that. So, and if we can set up a protocol for getting these animals back out into the wild, then that's a good thing for future generations. And I guess that's where you sort of have to keep your head, is that even though we're spending an awful lot of time and effort in what's going to be a home for one pair of loris, it'll hopefully set the stage and the knowledge for not only our pygmy loris, but loris rehabilitation work in different countries throughout Southeast Asia.
With so many primates to look after at the centre, visits from the vet are crucial in maintaining the health of the various species. And there's no let-up for John on this trip. Today, he needs to anaesthetise Ha, a 36-year-old male gibbon with a dental issue.
You're good.
Unfortunately for John, Ha is defying his age. He's quick off the mark and constantly dodging John's anaesthetic flying darts. But Lee tries Plan B and eventually manages to inject him by hand.
Phew. Given that we've run out of usable darts, dart needles, and everything else, the canine tooth has clearly got to come out. It's broken, it's been broken a long time. And he has had abscesses on the face as a result of infection tracking up the tooth root. So we have him, we'll go and fix that tooth now.
The centre has its own animal hospital, so health checks and minor surgical procedures can be carried out on site. But it's hot and humid on the island all year round, and in the confines of the small surgery, the heat adds to an already challenging task.
I think that's the most significant one because this is the one that's causing abscesses on his face. It's going to be a toughie.
After 30 minutes of pushing and probing, the dead tooth is extracted.
And the whole tooth is out.
It's another tick against John's long to-do list, and for now, he can take a break. Tomorrow, he'll join the team travelling back to Dao Tien for the first gibbon release in 3 years. It's the start of a huge day for everyone involved at Dao Tien. After 48 hours in a holding cage at a release site in Dao Tien National Park, female golden-cheeked gibbon Bin is going to be released back into the wild. It's what the team have been working towards over the last few years, and if successful, could pave the way for many more gibbons to be released in the near future.
Today's the day. Miss Bin is going free, and we'll just have to see. It's a very nerve-wracking time because that first moment coming out of the cage, we need to keep it really calm, quiet, so she doesn't just sprint away. You really want her to sort of relax, hang around, go up in the trees and consider which direction she's gonna head. So we'll just have to wait and see how it goes. But she's been calm and relaxed for 2 days, and this is it, the beginning of our next round of releases. And Bin's leading the way for what are 6 or 7 others to come in the next few weeks or months. So it's a big deal today.
Joining them is Dr. Curtis Pay, who helped Alison and her late husband Jim set up Dao Tien 12 years ago and has been supportive ever since. They're travelling by road to the edge of Dao Tien. Then they'll make the 2-kilometre trek to the release site on foot. There's a lot riding on the next few hours.
So we're hoping from this site, once Bin has established her home range, we can then start to rosebud other groups in this area and slowly increasing the effective protection zone. So yeah, it's all eyes on Bin. If this goes really, really well, then we can slowly trickle more gibbon groups out and slowly expand the Gabrieli population back into its original zone where it would have been 100 years ago.
Marina and her team have spent years gathering data to help them learn and understand how gibbons survive and flourish in their native forest. The last 2 releases didn't go to plan. A lack of fruiting trees and the appearance of a wild male gibbon didn't help matters. Having spent the last 3 years taking stock, they're now confident that the release of 10-year-old Bin will be a success.
It's always an emotional one. I mean, we've been working on this project now. This is my 20th year out here. Marina's about the same. And we haven't put as many gibbons back out as we would have liked to. So this is the new generation, if you will, generation 2 of releases, where we've ticked more of those boxes that we learned from generation 1. So this is a new start of a new era of the releases for the gibbons, which we need to get on with because Dao Tien's overcrowded.
For the last 2 nights, a keeper from Dao Tien has camped out close to the release cage to keep an eye on Bin and to top up her food and water.
Mr. Bin says she's eating really, really well. He says she's not off her food.
With so many people around, Bin is aware something is up. Alison wants to release her before she gets too agitated and stressed. The team take a step back into the forest, leaving care worker Mr. Bin to unlock the slide. Finn wastes no time leaping from the cage. And heading high into the tree canopy.
So far, so good. She's moving well through the trees, and she's also been looking around, and I just saw her go and pick through some trees and start eating some leaf. So far, so good. She looks fabulous in the trees, but at the same time, you know, she's looking at me right now. We should probably clear off and leave her to it to find her own feet and do her own thing, and rely on Mr. Bin and the Dao Tien team to follow her and let us know in the coming days how she's going. That collar's essential to everything. I think we're gonna win this small battle, and that I'll be back in a few months' time to be releasing more gibbons, and it's just the start of our next round for all of those others back on Dao Tien.
Next time on Monkey Life. Slow Loris Bruce is back under the knife, but the cause of his problem is still a mystery.
Doesn't feel like an abscess about to burst.
Plus, the team's attempt to get the woollies to work for their breakfast bears fruit. Today on Monkey Life, Slow Loris Bruce is back under the knife. But the cause of his problem is still a mystery.
Doesn't feel like an abscess about to burst.
Time apart for adolescent orangutans Silvestre and Jin, after too much rough and tumble.
They don't want to be best friends. Their game is starting getting rough.
Plus, the team's attempt to get the woollies to work for their breakfast bears fruit. Monkey World in Dorset, buried deep in the English countryside, is the largest sanctuary of its kind on the planet. The team, led by Dr. Alison rescue and rehabilitate abused and unwanted primates from all over the world.
Hello, Pipsqueak. Hello, Mimi.
The park provides a home for more than 260 monkeys and apes from 24 different species. Wildlife vet John Lewis has been called in to take another look at Bruce, one of the park's 2 male Bengal slow loris. Over the last 12 months, he's had a large lump on the side of his face. And despite 2 thorough examinations, multiple tests and medication, the team are no nearer to finding out what it is. Following treatment, it appeared to shrink, but in the last few weeks, they've noticed it's grown again. So John's back for a 3rd look.
This time it's about 4 times the size. So we're having him anaesthetised again. Only this time they'll probably take a tissue biopsy if it's not obvious what it is straight away.
But first, they've got to catch him.
He's not moving anywhere.
Jeremy and John head into the Loris complex to lend a hand. Bruce gives Jeremy the runaround. They may be named Slow Loris, but when they want to, they can get a shift on. Bruce's vice-like grip on the mesh doesn't make it any easier. But eventually Jeremy manages to unhook his hands. To minimise any additional stress, John injects him with anaesthetic and he's taken straight into the operating room.
It's not completely out yet. I'm just hanging on to the head.
Once John is satisfied Bruce is fully under, he can get to work. Loris fur is so dense, John needs to shave some away to get a clear look at the true size and texture of the lump.
Soft.
Well, it's not hard like an abscess, although, you know, it doesn't feel like an abscess about to burst.
It's obvious the lump has grown in size.
It's bigger than it was last time I saw it, but really, we're guessing. So I need to take a core biopsy, a bit like using an apple corer. Take a little section, have a look at the histology, see what tissue it is. It could be salivary gland, it could be a lymph node. But we'll see.
The sample will be sent to a laboratory, where hopefully they'll be able to identify what it is and assess why it's appeared.
So we'll need a scalpel handle, tiny blade, bit of hip scrub.
Once they have the result, the team will be able to treat Bruce accordingly.
And can we have the operating light on?
John makes a small incision in the middle of the lump.
This is actually very tough skin. So you can't get through that with an eye kit, but there is.
Loris are a bit of an enigma, and their anatomy is very complicated. Very little is known about them. It makes treating Bruce even more challenging.
Very, very difficult to grab tissue.
Taking a core biopsy isn't easy.
It's very difficult to get hold of anything. And the real difficulty is grabbing. Right, I just don't want to lose that tissue. Yes. Well, we've got some tissue. Give that a good shake up, would you, Stacey? Clearly, when you cut into it, you get blood, but also we get a more clear liquid, which suggests it might be a cyst of some sort. And I've got some tissue now to look at microscopically to see whether that tells us the tissue of origin of any cyst. It hasn't gone down that much, actually. It just looks a bit smaller. And we've taken a minuscule amount of tissue out of it. And you're going to ask me what it is. I don't know until we've seen the histology. I really don't.
Blood samples are also taken for DNA analysis. The small incision doesn't require stitches and will heal quickly. John has done all he can.
He's just going to come round at his own time now.
Hopefully the team will have some answers soon. It's a glorious day at the park, and over at Malagasy the lemurs are making the most of the warm sunshine. This happy and contented troop is made up of 11 individuals, led by the dominant female, Fennel. They love nothing better than a spot of sunbathing combined with one-on-one grooming sessions. Especially while waiting for breakfast to arrive. Today, primate carekeeper Freya is putting out a healthy, low-calorie meal, protein-packed butter beans. She's filled the feeders, which she hangs all around the leafy enclosure. Her task is made a little more challenging by Kaya, who can't wait to tuck in. Freya adds some lettuce as well, to add to the variety of this morning's feed.
The reason we kind of hang up the enrichment and things like that is we don't want them just to have their food on the floor. We want them to have to forage a bit more, climb up the trees, go in some of the tubes we've got here. We don't want it just to be handed to them. We want them to work a bit harder for it. Keep them enriched, keep them engaged.
The lemurs are up to the challenge. Friedrich shows amazing balance and agility on the swinging rope as he tackles one of the feeders. The suspended tubes make the lemurs work their core while hanging on and keep both their bodies and brains active. The feeder's conical shape is perfect for a lemur muzzle. They're able to get in and reach the food using their long tongues. But you need to keep hold of it too. The newest member of the group, Al, who arrived just over 2 years ago, is making the most of the lettuce on offer. His tail was broken during his days in the pet trade, but it doesn't stop him attacking the suspended feeder as well. One member of the group who's a little quiet today is elderly Whitespot, now 23 years old. He's developed an abscess on his muzzle, and the team are pretty sure he has an issue with one of his teeth, probably a canine. He's on antibiotics, but is due for a visit by the vet in the next few days if it doesn't get better. And Whitespot isn't the only one under extra scrutiny from the care team. Houdini is currently on cage rest and being kept company by Fennel. He's the oldest member of the group and has been struggling with the use of one of his arms recently. Until the team can get to the bottom of it, they're limiting the amount of exercise he has. But the rest of the group are all fit and healthy and enjoying today's enrichment. Although it's been thirsty work. Over at the Capuchin Lodge, the fabulous tree-filled enclosure is getting a bit of TLC. The team are hard at work putting up new pulley feeders, as well as refurbishing some of the hoses and ladders for the 14 individuals who make up the group.
It's so amazing for them. We've got quite a few wild-caught animals in this group, and they really use the trees. They go right to the top, and it's really nice to see. But we want to try and keep it wild for them, but at the same time, we need to be able to spread the food around for everybody and just make it nice. So the main thing that we're doing today is putting some pulley feeders up for them at various different levels to get them using the height a bit more, especially the lab-born ones like Erico and Sean that at the moment don't really have a reason to climb. Hopefully we'll get them a bit more active as well, getting them using some different muscles, which is really great. And naturally in the world, they feed up in the trees. It's not natural for them to get as much of their food source from on the ground. So that's our main aim today, and just to give it a bit of a revamp, really.
There's a large age range within the group. Some are still in their teens, while a few are in their 30s.
Those older animals are the wild-caught ones, so they're the ones that want to go up, but obviously their mobility is struggling a little bit as well and deteriorating, so we need to get them up high, but do that in a safe way, and so they can move up and down really nicely as well. And the younger guys that just don't really use the trees as much, we need to make it so that they also can get up and make it easy for them and just get them moving a little bit more than they do at the moment.
Primate carekeeper Toby is filling the feeders with pieces of fresh-cut melon, a particular favourite with this group of capuchins. First to be let out are Caesar and Phoebe. They were rescued together from the pet trade in 2008 and are still good friends. Because the pair are low rankers in the group, they're given a head start over the more dominant individuals. Caesar makes the most of it. The rest of the group are led out by dominant male Erico. He wastes no time shimmying up the thin rope to one of the new feeders, showing amazing strength and agility to reach in for the pieces of melon. As he devours his breakfast, Becky finds hers. She uses her tail as an anchor to quickly grab some juicy fruit before Erico muscles in. Some of the older individuals are also having success this morning. Binti is in her mid-30s, but defies her age heading for one of the higher feeders. It's very tricky to reach, but she takes her time, carefully lowering herself down onto the feeder. This old girl has plenty of grit and determination.
So definitely some of them do climb more than others. It's really high, so some of them, if they're not used to climbing, they just don't really have the head for heights and they don't have the confidence to be able to do that. So the two that we see at the tops of the trees the most is Scarlet and Ringo, which are two of the wild caught animals. And you see them right at the tops of the trees in the really flimsy branches. Obviously they catch the sun. Also, because they're a bit older, they're sort of towards the bottom of the hierarchy, so for them it's an opportunity to get away from the other individuals. And also there's loads of bugs and insects and things up there as well, which they really enjoy more than the younger animals do.
The aim of revamping the enclosure was to keep this mixed-age capuchin group interested and mobile. And if this morning is anything to go by, it's going to work well. But while Eriko wants to concentrate on the food, Becky's concentrating on him. She follows him round like a love-struck teenager, flirting and doing her best to grab his attention, although her technique fails to impress Eriko. Eventually, her persistence pays off, and Eriko succumbs, allowing Becky to give him a one-on-one grooming session. It's a tough life being the top man. Summer has arrived at the park, and at the orangutan nursery enclosure, the youngsters are making the most of the warmer weather. They're outside scouting for breakfast, which has been hidden in some of the feeders to encourage the group to climb. Even the normally sedate Oshin is off the ground hunting for food. Bulu and Rika may be growing up, but they're still incredibly close. But these days, Bulu also likes interacting with the big boys, whereas Rika is quite content to amuse herself. Jin is having great fun showing off how strong and athletic he is. At 9 years old, he's outgrowing the nursery physically, if not mentally. But one member of the nursery is absent today. Jin's pal Silvestre is licking his wounds. A couple of weeks ago, one of their rough and tumble sessions went a bit too far, and the inevitable happened, leaving Silvestre with some nasty cuts and Jin with some scratches. Both boys are adolescents and are starting to develop the characteristics that will mark them out as adult males. At some stage, it was inevitable that they would come to blows.
Silvestre getting big and Jin getting big, they don't want to be best friends. They just want to find respect or comparing each other. And they are quite competitive each other as well. So Silvestre thinks that he is stronger than Jin, and Jin thinks he is stronger than Silvestre. So that is normal behavior for male orangutan.
In the wild, adult males don't tolerate other males in competition for their territory and spend most of their life alone. With Jin and Silvestre bulking up and their sharp adult canines developing, the team have taken the decision to keep them apart in case things turn nasty. They'll take it in turns to have access to the outside enclosure. Today, it's Jin who's enjoying the sunshine, while Silvestre stays indoors. To keep him busy and occupied, Jarno has planned a training session with him in the outside tunnels, away from the others.
Hey, handsome man. Look at your teeth, it's so big now.
These sessions are incredibly beneficial, enabling staff to teach and reinforce behaviours
Goodbye.
which may be needed for real in the future. It also helps Jarno take a good look at those dangerous new teeth.
Open. Look at that. Canine for orangutan is kind of weapon, really. They just use it to shredding thing, and including use it for fighting. That's what he did. Same thing as well with Jin as well. Them two, they got their canine now. So their game is starting getting rough.
Jin and Silvestre now need to be found new homes so they can head up groups of their own. But it isn't easy because they can't live with other adult males. Until then, it's the job of the care team to make sure they enjoy life.
They do need lots of attention and stimulation, I think. Us keeper is basically their best enrichment ever. So spending time with them and even if talking to them, they're really, really happy as well. And giving them something just rewarding for them and yeah, make their days go better.
The park's maintenance team are having a late summer tidy up. And it's Lavar's troop of woolly monkeys who'll benefit today. An apple tree at Hananya's chimp house has been trimmed back. The cut boughs, laden with juicy fruit, are being suspended high up in the trees of Lavar's forest enclosure. The aim today is to encourage the woollies to use their muscles and coordination to climb up and forage for the fruit, mimicking the behaviour of their wild counterparts.
They are suspension feeders. They spend most of their time really high up in the canopy, so having the apple still attached to the branch is just completely mimicking wild foraging behaviour. So normally we would actually chop up their food quite small, distribute it around, but this is just a nice treat for them. They wouldn't normally have this amount of food in one feed. We do have to control how much fruit intake they have, so this is just like a sort of one-off treat. Is really, really nice for them, just to encourage them to just behave like wild woolly monkeys.
Lavar's son Manny is first out and immediately spots the apple browse. But he's conspicuously quiet. Either he's not excited or he's trying to keep the surprise all to himself. But the rest of the group soon realise what's on offer. And there's lots of happy trilling as they start to tuck in. First-time mum Eva makes it look all too easy, balancing on the high rope while devouring the fruit. The apple of her eye, son Lemmy, also joins in the fun. He manages to grab one, but takes one bite before deciding it's not ripe enough for him, and heads up high in search of richer pickings. The apple never falls far from the tree, which is just as well for Cosmo, who takes the easy option, finding fruit on the ground. He's back to his usual self, following treatment for seizures and loving the group enrichment. The team have put up plenty of browse, so there's lots to go round.
This forest enclosure is just perfect for our woolly monkeys. They are arboreal. We do always try to encourage them to sort of come up and feed higher up. Woolly monkeys have got their prehensile tails, and in the wild they actually use that quite a lot to aid them when they're feeding. So they'll wrap their tails around branching, unlike the ropes we have here, and then they suspend their body down to be able to access lots of food. So we're always trying to find new ideas of how we can encourage the woolly monkeys to use those tails and just to act like sort of what they would in the wild.
In the forests of South America, woolly monkeys can live in groups of up to 60. They often travel 1 kilometre a day searching for food. This isn't necessary in captivity, but the care team do their best to encourage natural behaviour from all the troop. It's been a very productive and fruitful session. And as they say, an apple a day keeps the vet away. Next time on Monkey Life, a trip to the hospital for injured lemur Houdini.
There's quite an obvious fracture through the radius there.
And Kuki cottons on quick when breakfast arrives all tied up. Today on Monkey Life, a trip to the hospital for injured lemur Houdini.
There's quite an obvious fracture through the radius there.
Alison attempts to persuade the new baby loris to try solids.
Yeah, you'll have to get hold of it. It's very wriggly.
It's not my most popular part of feeding time.
And Kuki cottons on quick when breakfast arrives all tied up. Monkey World in Dorset, buried deep in the English countryside, is the largest sanctuary of its kind on the planet. A team, led by Dr. Alison Cronin, rescue and rehabilitate abused and unwanted primates from all over the world.
This is going to take some doing to catch them up, actually.
The park provides a home for more than 260 monkeys and apes from 24 different species. At Monkey World's Animal Hospital, local vet Dave Harding is preparing to take a look at two of the park's oldest lemurs. Houdini and Whitespot are both 23 years old and were born just 4 days apart. For the last few days, Houdini has been unable to use his left arm. He may have injured it avoiding confrontation with younger members of the troop. Whitespot's issue may be the result of a dental problem. He has an abscess on the side of his muzzle, which hasn't gone down, despite a week-long course of antibiotics. Dave is going to examine both lemurs.
Houdini, yeah, that's fine.
Starting with Houdini. Jeremy brings Houdini into the examination room to be put under with anaesthetic gas.
He's moving it.
Under stress, i.e. catching him, he was...
Yesterday, he was chasing him.
Okay.
Dave examines Houdini's left arm, comparing it with his right, which the lemur is able to use fully.
Right, should we just get a quick x-ray then?
Anything obvious?
Not crazily, no.
A physical examination won't be enough to solve the problem, but an x-ray could shed some light on what's happening. It's not good news.
There's quite an obvious fracture through the radius there, but the great thing is that the ulnar bone, which is down here, is still completely intact, so that's going to provide a natural splint. Because as long as that other bone stays there, that will almost certainly heal fine, so that's a good fracture.
It's a clean break, which Dave feels could heal in 4 weeks, providing Houdini doesn't overexert himself. It's important the limb heals fully, as lemurs are very active and spend a lot of time leaping around high in the trees. Houdini will need cage rest and restricted exercise before he's allowed back into the tree-filled enclosure at Malagasy. The next lemur on Dave's list is Whitespot.
So for Whitespot's dental issue, we're not sure exactly what's going on, but given the size of the lump, we think we might have some sort of abscess that potentially might need draining. Lemur teeth are quite well rooted, so they can be quite challenging to sort of bring out. We suspect it could be one of its big canines, but we won't really know until we have him down and have a look at what's going on in there.
Whitespot has already been brought across to the hospital where the vet team get to work to sedate him.
Yeah, that feels okay. That's okay.
Power.
That's okay. I wouldn't cuff it actually, but it's a bit more snug.
Dave can now check Whitespot's teeth and the abscess on his muzzle.
That can only be that canine. It is fractured, the tip of that canine.
He's pretty certain the two are related.
From the location of the swelling, it almost seems inevitable that it's the canine tooth that's got an abscess, and there is just a tiny chip off the tip of the tooth, so we assume it is that tooth. But it wouldn't be the first time we've assumed that there's a tooth abnormal and the swelling's persisted, so it would be nice to see some proof on an x-ray. If we can get an x-ray, it's not terribly easy to get an x-ray of that location, but we'll have a go. But I think we'll probably have to take that tooth out.
A clear x-ray will give Dave an indication of whether the tooth is the cause of the problem and if there's any infection around it.
You can see around the base of this tooth, there's sort of more whitening here, right? And then around the base, you can see this black area here, all right? So that's the tooth root abscess.
The offending tooth needs to come out. Dave has brought his dental machine with him and starts by peeling back part of the gum and drilling away some of the infected bone holding the large canine tooth. Once it's exposed, he starts to loosen it.
Oh, there it goes.
It doesn't take long to come out.
Once it got through the top bit, it just gave suddenly. It looks good. I mean, it's pretty conclusive, the fact that it came out like that as soon as it got through that last bit of bone there, so that's cool. All right.
The base of the tooth was so rotten and infected, it fell out with very little effort. To check if the tooth and infection are related, Dave flushes out the abscess.
Yeah, there you go. It's coming out the oral socket.
Satisfied all is well, he stitches up the hole in the gum.
Usually with these things, once you've got rid of the problematic tooth, these things will settle down quite quickly. So hopefully that'll be the end of it.
Whitespot will need pain relief and a course of antibiotics for the next week. But it's been a successful day for all concerned.
There, buddy.
It's a lovely warm summer's day. And at Hananya's enclosure, the primate care team are preparing a morning enrichment for the troop. They've placed peanuts and other protein-packed goodies inside pieces of cloth that have been plaited together. They're distributing them all around the enclosure. The chimps will have to use physical or mental agility to get to the treats inside. Dominant male Hananya leads the excited group out. He's alert and aware something is different in the enclosure, but he isn't exactly sure what. However, low-ranking Kuki's cottoned on quickly, grabbing as many plats as she can while on the move. She knows a more dominant chimp could come along and steal her stash at any moment. In the wild, chimpanzees exploit a wide variety of food items in order to survive. And it's not easy for such large apes, living in large extended families, to find enough food. Chimps investigate and process every possible food item on offer. And this instinct also drives Hananya's group, even though they're struggling to get the knots undone. Sometimes it's a balancing act to find the right approach. Even the boss Hananya hasn't got it sussed, though he may be saving his hidden breakfast for later. Patricia still hasn't worked out pulling the knotted plait with her teeth is only making it tighter. But Zeynep and Kuki have solved the puzzle and are tucking into the peanut treats inside. Thelma has noticed that the two adult females, both originally from the pet trade in Turkey, have worked out the best technique. She heads up with her horde looking for a few useful tips. Or maybe just to steal one of Kuki's already opened parcels. Kuki doesn't seem to mind at all. That is until mischievous Thelma tries to escape with some of Kuki's cloth collection. But the youngster's growing up, and can't get away with as much as she used to. Kuki's not allowing that until she's sure there's no more food inside. It's been 9 weeks since Nikki the loris gave birth to twins. Sadly, only one survived. Alison and the team have been hand-rearing it ever since.
Look at you, little one.
The tiny infant has made remarkable progress. It's starting to eat solids and is even learning to climb in its own specially decked-out cage.
I try and keep her in here as much as possible. So at the moment, I mean, she still sleeps an awful lot of the time. But I try and leave her in here whenever she's sleeping so that when she wakes up, the first thing she sees is a branch in front of her face. And every now and again, I'll sort of pick her up, which we can try in a minute, and actually plunk her on a branch. Her grip is very good and secure, but her hand-eye coordination and balance isn't so good yet. So that's something that we're working on. Okay, so where's the nearest? There you go. Hold on.
Alison nicknamed the youngster Bob at birth, but it appears it may be a little girl.
Is that nice? Oh, look at that little belly. Look at that.
She's provisionally renamed the baby Bobbie until they're certain. And the youngster has developed quite an appetite.
86, 85, 86 grams. So born at 34, 3 months on 86. That's quite a nice weight gain. It's easy to forget. It sounds ridiculous sitting here holding her in my hand, but you sort of forget just how tiny she is. Doesn't that sound crazy? I know. But she's come on so many leaps and bounds since birth that, you know, to me, she's looking sort of all grown up and together. But yeah, and sort of have to keep in mind that she's still just an infant.
Bobbie has milk feeds every day, as she would if she was still with her mum. But Alison has also started to introduce her to some fruits and insects.
When we first tried insects, they were not very popular at all, the flavor. But now, very keen. And you can see how important and interested it is. It's almost instinct that they're interested in the wriggling of the insects. She happily gets straight in there. She knows that she wants it, but she hasn't quite gotten it down pat yet to actually bite them and eat them herself.
Yeah, you'll have to get hold of it. It's very wriggly. Bite it hard.
At this point, it's not my most popular part of feeding time, but sort of little pinch the head off the waxworm and it comes out like a tube of toothpaste. And there are little cartilage bits inside of there that she's very keen on eating, and I do let her eat the skin if she takes it down. So this is all good practice. Most often, she actually ends up spitting out the shell or the skin, but sometimes she actually eats it. We're trying to progress her along so that she can go join the other loris just as soon as possible. So eating solid food and being able to climb in a meaningful and safe way are the two things that I'm trying to achieve as soon as possible. I think we're a ways off of it yet.
It's been almost 5 months since female chimpanzee Naree arrived at the park from a rescue centre in Thailand. From day one, she surprised everyone with her ability to fit in and establish relationships with other chimps, despite having lived alone in a cage for more than 13 years. She's now made friends with all Bryan's group, although female Ash does like to throw her weight around. Considering her background, it's remarkable former circus chimp Naree has settled in so well. Animal director Jeremy is impressed.
She's just a really, really nice person, and she's also not, she's the brightest person in the world, and she doesn't want any grief, but she can look after herself, thank you very much, even though she hasn't got any teeth. But yeah, you know, she doesn't take any rubbish from anybody. In fact, Naree is probably the most well-balanced individual in that entire group. Naree seems to be a survivor and you know, she doesn't need counselling. She's all, yeah, I'm all right. You know, I'll make do with what I've got, thank you.
Today is the culmination of the last few months. The introductions and bonding with the care team have led to this moment. The whole group are going outside together. The slide is opened and Bryan heads out, with Rodders following close behind. Over the last few weeks, the team have stepped up Naree's meetings with Ash, with positive results. Ash has mellowed, leading to the team's decision to go ahead with today's plan. But for once, Naree doesn't seem too sure. It's left to cheeky Rodders to come back and give her some encouragement. The pair have bonded extremely well in recent weeks. In fact, Rodders is like a love-struck teenager, constantly following Naree around like her shadow. They often enjoy fun play sessions together, although Rodders is prone to going a bit too far. Naree, however, shows great patience. Since the tragic loss of nursery foster mum Sally last year, 16-year-old Bryan has taken charge of the group, but his life has been far from straightforward. Originally smuggled from the wild in Africa, when still a baby, the young chimp ended up as a photographer's prop on the beaches of Mexico. All but 4 of his teeth were knocked out to stop him biting tourists. Bryan's early years were traumatic and life-changing. The Mexican authorities eventually confiscated him, and in 2006, Alison and her late husband Jim flew out to bring the youngster back to Monkey World.
Bryan actually found his mom. He's crazy about Alison.
We get on well.
Bryan has now developed into an impressive adult male, but the nightmare of his tragic start in life continues to haunt him, and he's prone to difficult, abnormal episodes.
Well, Bryan's always had mental health issues, just put it like that. He's a broken lad. He's a very broken lad, and he's, you know, at the moment he's not having a good time. He really isn't, and he's having some sort of fits quite regularly, and we're working on it. And but you're not going to cure it. I mean, obviously, with humans, we've got therapy. Well, most of the therapy with the chimpanzees, you know, you can't sort of sit him in a dark room and talk deep, meaningful to him and all that sort of stuff. But, you know, we can do, you know, so much, and obviously we are doing that.
Perhaps the calming influence of Naree in the group may help in the future. Life at the park is constantly evolving for the animals and their carers. Staff are kept on their toes with emergency rescues, other potential new arrivals, and sometimes the sudden loss of well-loved individuals. Big decisions often need to be made. The tragic deaths of Saki monkey Tutu and squirrel monkey Charlie a few weeks ago signalled changes for the small monkey team. They decided to merge the park's 2 surviving Saki monkeys, Desmond and Chloe, with the 7 remaining squirrel monkeys, to live as one big group.
They are both species from South America. Lots of different sized primates live together in the wild, in the rainforest, so there's no reason why we shouldn't try mixed exhibits here at the park with animals that come from the same region. So there shouldn't be an issue, but you never know. It's all based on the individuals. Some might be a bit naughtier than others, some might be a bit more nervous, so we just need to try it and see, really.
Chloe has lived with squirrel monkeys before, but it's a new experience for Desmond. With the park's original 4 black-capped squirrel monkeys and the 3 common squirrel monkeys rescued from Bridgewater 2 years ago, There are now 9 primates living together, and so far, all seems well.
With all the groups here at the park, you never know if something's going to happen. You never know if someone's behaviour is going to change. Even just something from them going through adolescent or hitting puberty, their behaviour will change. So we have to constantly monitor all the groups here at the park, and we have to constantly be aware of what's going on and keep a really close eye on them, because there may be a point where it's not working for them, either for the squirrels or the sarkies or both, and at that point we will reassess. Just because we've got them together now, it doesn't mean that we have to keep them together forever. There is always a chance for us to move them somewhere else in the park and make it, if they're not happy, we'll make them happier.
Today, to keep the whole group occupied, some of their breakfast is being served frozen in pine cones, which are being scattered around the enclosure. A slightly perplexed and wary Azzy leads the group out, tentatively reaching for one of the pine cones and testing out some of the ice-cold fruit. Initially, she's not impressed. The pine cones are filled with frozen banana, perfect for the sarkies, as fruit makes up 60% of their diet in the wild, whereas the squirrel monkeys eat more insects. Of the 2 sarky monkeys, Chloe is definitely more laid back. But then she is a lot older than Desmond. Since being put together, the pair haven't looked back. Desmond is the perfect gent, and Chloe is very appreciative.
Desmond is beautiful. He's probably a perfect sarky monkey male. In all respects, he's beautiful, he's very fit, he's very healthy, but he's also so lovely with Chloe, his female. And when we had them together with Tutu, although he wanted to spend time with Chloe, he'd always go back to his son and check him as well. So he's like a perfect sarky monkey boyfriend.
Both species of squirrel monkey in the group are small, but they more than make up for it in character. The 2 youngest, Nueve and Lopez, are the cheekiest and most active, to the annoyance of some of the more mature group members. But so far, this mixed species group seems to have settled in well together, with the youngsters having fun and the oldies tolerating their hijinks.
We constantly want to provide environmental enrichment for animals, but actually interactions with other animals is probably the most enriching thing you can get. And if that other animal is a different species, it's even more exciting and more different, but it's actually really, really nice for the animals if it works well.
Next time on Monkey Life, 2 of the park's more unusual residents get a health check from wildlife vet John Lewis.
They were taken from, obviously, the pet tree. Very thin. They've lost a lot of hair.
And little orangutan Mimi experiments with nest building.